Good evening. You're watching WION special broadcast at 8 p.m. I'm Sana Khan. Today marks exactly 75 years to the Quit India movement. The significance of the Quit India movement to India's freedom struggle is enormous. If the War of Independence in 1857 was the nationwide start of the freedom struggle, 1942 was its last and triumphant battle cry. Launched at Mahatma Gandhi's call in Bombay on the 8th of August in 1942, the movement that demanded an end to the British rule was the final big push for India's freedom struggle. Hundreds of thousands of patriots courted arrest all over the country in the following days. Gandhi himself was imprisoned. His call of do or die electrified the nation and quickened its resolve to wrest freedom from the foreign power at all costs. Within 5 years, the British were forced to quit India's shores, and Indian people's dreams of becoming a free nation came true on the 15th of August in 1947. And this year, the country has decided to go beyond ritualistic remembrance. The Indian government and society have decided to mark this day as an apt occasion for nationwide discourse and commemoration. Today, we talk about the significance of the day, the Prime Minister's idea of a new India, and the challenges that still remain 75 years on. Before that, here's a quick look at this report.
The Quit India movement launched exactly 75 years ago to this day. A movement that transformed the nature of political negotiations with the British Empire at the time. A movement that was epoch-making, but even in today's context, one that is in no way less important nor forgotten. And this is exactly how Prime Minister Narendra Modi described it in his creative interpretation of the Quit India movement as a marker of sankalp or resolve. His suggestion that the period from 1942 to 1947 could also be seen as a determination to achieve underlines the historical trajectory that paved the way for India's independence. The Prime Minister vowed to create what he called the new India of our dreams by 2022 by eliminating poverty, dirt, corruption, terrorism, casteism and communalism.
भ्रष्टाचार रूपी दीमक ने देश को कैसे तबाह करके रखा हुआ है। हम आगे कोई ईमानदारी का उत्सव मना सकते हैं, ईमानदारी का संकल्प लेकर के देश का नेतृत्व कर सकते हैं, क्या देश को ले जा सकते हैं?
Invoking the Quit India movement, PM Modi also called for India to inspire the world, just as India's freedom from colonial rule was a trigger to end colonialism in other parts of the world.
कि ब्रिटिश उपनिवेशवाद जो था, इसका आरंभ हिंदुस्तान में हुआ और इस घटना के बाद उसका अंत भी हिंदुस्तान से हुआ था। भारत आजाद होना सिर्फ भारत का आजादी नहीं थी। 1942 के बाद विश्व के जिन भूभाग में, अफ्रीका के, एशिया में इस उपनिवेशवाद के खिलाफ एक ज्वाला भड़की, उसकी प्रेरणा केंद्र भारत बन गया था।
India is a nation with rich history. It's also a nation that is changing and modernizing fast. The Prime Minister, in his own unique way, made it clear that India cannot afford to forget a significant landmark in its history by commemorating the 75th anniversary of the milestone movement. India will carry it forward and continue to inspire other countries around the world, and that is the message. With Sana Khan, Yash Jha, WION.
And I'm pleased to have Mr. TSR Subramanian. He's with me here in the studio, former Cabinet Secretary, 1961 batch Indian Administrative Service Officer from the Uttar Pradesh cadre. Thanks, Mr. Subramanian, so much for joining me on the show. Let me start by asking you, the Prime Minister has said that in 1942, if the clarion call was do and die, then today it should be that we must and we will do it. And he said the next 5 years should be about a resolve that leads for us as Indians towards accomplishment. How do you look at his statement?
It could be a huge historical announcement. I don't know how it's going to turn out to be. I hope it doesn't fizzle out like the call by Indira Gandhi for abolish poverty. The second plan talked of abolish poverty. Indira in the 70s talked about it. They didn't mean it at that time. We hope, first number one, he means it. Number two, he has not mentioned, the 6 subjects he mentioned are enormously important. We can go to each one of them for half a minute each, but before that,
Right.
He has not mentioned two things which are fundamental.
What are they?
When the British left, it has been replaced by another ruling class, and who are probably not as benevolent as the British were. So really we have a political kind of consolidation of India, but the basic object of that was the citizen, democracy, that has failed utterly. Because you see, every human index, when you come from 1947 to now, has collapsed, has failed. Some poverty has gone, but income distribution has become much worse. So the really, relatively, the poor are poorer and the rich are richer, etc. Two fundamental things are missed out. I'm totally agreeing with him. I hope this clarion call will be seen correctly. I'm not sure this can be done in 5 years. If done in 10 years, it will be a great thing. In 47, India should have been one of the great countries of the world. We are now also ran for various reasons. I think the two things missing, which hopefully he knows very well, are we need electoral reform, and we need political reform. Without these, none of the things he talks about is going to happen. I can now give it in writing now. There will be complete failure if concrete steps for... So in that case, with the constant failure with television, with 4G, with people knowing how everybody is living, the people are going to get highly disenchanted if what the Prime Minister wants does not happen 5 years' time. Then there's nothing static in the world. Either you go up or you come down. Our own entire, I'm saying a harsh thing, our own democracy, as we see it today, political democracy as today, will be in danger. And therefore, to my mind, that is the criticality of the call made by the Prime Minister today.
But does it resonate with you, whatever he said, the message on a personal
These
level?
four subjects, absolutely, these are the fundamental things. I will make only minor changes. He's talked about, for example, poverty. Yes, it's imperative. He missed out education because poverty and education are interlinked. So I am assuming when he says poverty, automatically education will be there. It should be, then for the first time, have you ever heard of any chief minister or any prime minister talk of corruption? He has officially recognized the corruption as an issue, and the main reason bringing India down is corruption. Number two, he has talked about caste. We relates to the political reform, relates to, he has written to communism, again to political reform. Then you talked of terrorism, you relate to law and order. So what happened yesterday in Haryana, what happened to that girl is happening 100,000 times a day all over India, not an exaggeration. It happened. So law and order, I say more law and order rather than terrorism, but terrorism, yes. So these are really the fundamental. I would only add political reform as the mainspring,
reform,
and the and electoral reform and education and public health. These are the two, but those are subsumed in equality.
Mr. Subramanian, now we do know, as you mentioned, that Prime Minister Modi isn't the first leader to have talked about these issues and to interpret, these subjects or the memories of the Quit India movement. He's taken that call. Do you think his ways of dealing with it, we've seen him so far over 3 years in government, his style of governance, these goals look, achievable?
Look, you're asking a very difficult question because 70 years, the public of India has been shortchanged. Clearly, a new flavor has come, a new approach has come, a new determination has come. I still don't see green shoots outside. I can see a change of attitude in Delhi and a very significant major change of attitudes in Delhi. Things have become worse in the state, in the states. And the public relation is much more, 70–80% public relation is in the state. So if these, so in other words, these are important words. And we've had too many words in the past. But knowing him, he genuinely means it. In the earlier cases, we're not sure. He means it. Whether he will succeed or not, whether he will be allowed to succeed or not, these are big questions in the future and critical questions for India's survival.
All right, sir, just hang on to that thought. Let's go back and listen into some of the messages today that the Prime Minister gave out, marking 75 years of the Quit India movement. We'll try and play out what the Prime Minister said and also Congress President Sonia Gandhi.
आज़ादी के आंदोलन के अलग अलग पड़ाव आए, अलग अलग पराक्रम हुए, अलग अलग बलिदान हुए, उतार चढ़ाव भी आए, अलग अलग मोड़ पर से आंदोलन गुजरा, लेकिन 47 की आजादी के पहले 42 की घटना एक प्रकार से अंतिम व्यापक आंदोलन था। 30 में महात्मा गांधी की दांडी मार्च, नेताजी सुभाष बोस द्वारा आजाद हिंद फौज की स्थापना, अनेक वीर भगत सिंह, सुखदेव, राजगुरु, चंद्रशेखर आजाद, चाफेकर बंधु, अनगिनत अपने अपने समय पर बलिदान देते रहे। गांधी के मुंह से करेंगे या मरेंगे शब्द देश के लिए अजूबा था, और इसलिए गांधी को भी उस समय कहना पड़ा था, और उन्होंने शब्द कहा था, आज से आप में हर एक को स्वयं को एक स्वतंत्र महिला या पुरुष समझना चाहिए।
8 अगस्त 1942 को मुंबई में महात्मा गांधी के आह्वान पर अखिल भारतीय कांग्रेस कमेटी ने जवाहरलाल नेहरू द्वारा प्रस्तावित और सरदार पटेल द्वारा समर्थक संकल्प को स्वीकार किया, जिसमें अंग्रेजी हुकूमत से देश छोड़ने को कहा गया था। भारत छोड़ो, क्विट इंडिया।
Mr. T.S.R. Subramanian is with me here in the studio. Sir, do you think in a way that the Quit India movement till now has been looked at a movement which is the legacy of the Congress party, and do you think that idea is now changing? The perception is changing? Well,
look, don't forget that for about 30-40 years after independence, Congress was the really only party in India. So what has happened now since then has been a transformation. I think most educated people see that as a national movement at that time, and challenge of Modi will be to treat it as what 6 things he has said, convert them into a national movement.
Right.
That will be the real challenge that we have, that it is not a BJP's movement, it's a national movement. Don't forget that the new government has had a baggage of nearly 65 years of maladministration. So the against tables can't be cleaned in one day, 1 year. Okay. I have now seen the last 3-4 years of cleaning the stables now. This to me is a major look forward, leap forward.
Okay.
This now has to succeed. If it does, I think India will be transformed.
All right, so hold on to that thought. We take a look at this other story from Mumbai now. Well, Mumbai is facing a near shutdown today with the Maratha Kranti Morcha. It held a massive rally in the city. Their demand for reservations in jobs and education has led them to a silent protest which has taken over the metropolitan. Their campaign began in August last year and ended by submitting a memo to Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis. Reports suggest participation of between 500,000 to 800,000 Marathas from across the state took part in today's procession, and it has garnered the support of all the political parties, with even the Shiv Sena announcing their backing. One of the key demands of the Maratha community is capital punishment for the accused in the Kopardi rape and murder case. The murder and rape of a 14-year-old girl last July triggered massive protests by the community members across the state of Maharashtra. Now, one must keep in mind that agitations like these are not foreign to the country. A series of protests in February last year saw the state of Haryana paralyzed as the Jat community demanded reservations. At about the same time, the Kapil community in Andhra Pradesh broke out into violent protests demanding inclusion in the backward caste list. An ongoing struggle persists for the Patidar community, who've been holding public demonstrations across the state of Gujarat since 2015. India has witnessed a resurgence of reservation demand from dominant communities, and this has been a result of politicization of welfare schemes. Communities like the Jats, Patidars and now Marathas are demanding reservations, who have economic muscle and dominate political structures in their respective states. Now, the ability of the communities to coerce subsidies stem from the ability to paralyze the state and halt civic life, whether it's in Mumbai, the protests that we saw today or the blockades of train services in Rajasthan. This shows that India has failed to resolve the issue of reservations because most of the mentioned communities affect electoral processes. Time has come that backwardness can be defined economically and the creamy layer issue be resolved politically. For India to use reservation as an affirmative action, it must be reviewed timely and delinked from political blackmail. It also reflects agrarian crisis and shows that jobs aren't available in rural areas, and with fragmentation of land holding, communities which were once prosperous are now becoming poorer, hence hitting the streets. The problem is also compounded by the lack of access to the high-end jobs because educational opportunities aren't available for them at low costs. And here's a short report filed by WION's correspondent Pragya Jha, who was on the ground covering this story for us today in Mumbai.
With the protests coming to an end in Azad Maidan here in Mumbai and crowds dispersing back home, it seems that the meeting between Chief Minister of Maharashtra Devendra Fadnavis and the leaders of the Kranti Mukti Morcha was a successful one. However, their most pressing demand for reservation in government jobs and institutes still seems to be in the ambiguous category. But with Devendra Fadnavis promising a slew of other things, the revelers and the crowds have left the Maidan on a good note. With video journalist Kiran Umrigar in Mumbai, Pragya Jha for WION.
Mr. Subramanian, you were mentioning electoral reforms and political reforms. Do you think that is perhaps the only answer to solve this problem of reservation?
Yes, these are fundamental, these are absolutely basic. What we have seen today in Maharashtra has happened for the last 10 years consistently. It's going to happen for the next 10 years unless we take action now or more. We had as I said, Patidar, Jat, Gujar, all of these have happened here all over. Now we are seeing the Karnataka linguistic. So these are all, I think, 2-3 fundamental points we have to understand now. Yes, I think the time has now come to be more inclusive. But inclusive not so much in terms of caste or community, but in terms of economic disparity. I think we should now replace caste community thought. In other words, you should now not reserve, but enable people to come. Which means otherwise, you have 20 lakhs new scholarships, higher education. Coming to them. Enable them to come on merit, which is the
enable being the key word.
Enabling, yes.
But
in other words, on merit.
We're playing out graphics also showing that how countries across the world have reservation,
USA has done that,
but no country has caste-based reservation.
That's what I'm saying. Therefore, this is a regressive way of doing this. This is what you could have predicted 20 years back this will happen.
But how will New India
because
deal
all
with
100% will want reservation now.
How will New India, according to you, deal with this?
Which means that there has to be a political understanding. If what Modi talks of is correctly is going to happen, the politicians must now, they have helped ruin the country. They should now get together. They have broken up the castes. They have broken up the communities. Amity was there all over. Now we have to have a new way of looking at these things, which means it is an economic issue now and not a social issue. Caste, community, etc. We got to look at that and make, so inclusion is no economic inclusion, this has to be new form mantra. I don't know how we're going to sell the idea, get everybody to accept this kind of a thing. Otherwise, we are in for a complete dead end. The whole thing is going to collapse.
But can reservation and a new India, can these two ideas go forward together?
It can be, it should. In fact, the two ideas must go together. The two ideas, in other words, we cannot live in the past. We cannot live, there is no question that scheduled caste and backward caste had a bad deal economically for the past 2,000 years, the last 500 years. We need to redress that. The way to redress them is to choose talented people in each community and not in small 2%, 3%. 50% of them should get educational opportunities, then it should be a competitive society rather than a society where people come in because of reservation.
Absolutely. Point taken. The last part of the program right now, which we go to, is again talking about the Prime Minister, how he addressed the district collectors and other key state government officials today for a new India Manthan. Via video conferencing, the Prime Minister shared his vision on India's development agenda by 2022. That's when the country celebrates its 75th year of independence. Now, the Prime Minister explained that the date of August 9th is intrinsically linked with the mantra of Sankalp Se Siddhi, or achievement through resolve. He said the date symbolizes the willpower and ambition of the youth. The Prime Minister also recalled how the senior leaders of the freedom movement were arrested at the beginning of the Quit India movement, and youth across the country successfully carried the movement forward. The Prime Minister also said at the conference that when youth assumes a leadership role, goals are sure to be achieved. He described the collectors as not just representatives of their districts, but also of the youth of that region. He said collectors were fortunate people because they had been given the opportunity to dedicate themselves to the nation. The Prime Minister there adding that the government is asking each individual, each family, each organization to aim for certain goals which they should accomplish by the year 2022. So how do you see the Prime Minister's outreach to district level officers? Rarely do we see a Prime Minister go in depth, talk to officers at the district level.
Which is a very happy thought. But remember two things. We have to be done with care, because this is a federal setup. The collector works for the state. He does not work for the government of India, even though he belongs to an All India service, number one. The second, which I think the PM knows very well, the second harsh reality on the ground is the collector is still generally respected all over India. On the other hand, every district administration is controlled by one mafia or the other. Land or sand or building or forest, one of these mafias are controlling now. And there are huge political interest, huge money interest. And therefore, and in other words, the reform, we go back to the same political reform of the state. In most states, the job of the minister is just to make money. I mean, I'm putting it very crudely and bluntly. He has no other job except to make money. And all decisions are taken. Therefore, it means a new way of looking at things.
Right.
New administration. Now, the agenda that the PM has said is an enormous agenda. It will make India the greatest country, higher than US, higher than China, in 10, 15 years' time with the technology that we have.
Right.
But the bottleneck is going to be how he is going to carry the politics and the electoral systems. Otherwise, it's a brilliant idea. I only question how he tackles this. Is going to determine India's future.
All right. And very last comment, the Niti Aayog think tank, which has, been mandated to foster cooperative federalism in the country, for which it's imperative that states work together collectively and collaboratively with the centre. How do you see this? And this effort seems to be, aimed in that very direction, the Prime Minister's interaction.
Look, the harsh reality is that the interests are very large in the states. And as of now, the government of India, which has made remarkable new steps, remarkable news undone in 70 years, full credit to Modi, has not made any dent on the administration of the states. And therefore, Niti Aayog is non-existent in the states. It has no value. It is an existence at all there.
Right.
The Prime Minister exists there. But unless a new force is brought in the streamline, in other words, our law and order, our caste issues, our education is in shambles. The biggest money spinner after politics is education, black money spinner. These are not being addressed at all. His sixth formula will address them, but he cannot address them without the tear of politics and electoral.
All right. I think you made your point throughout the discussion, Mr. T.S.R. Subramaniam. We'll have to leave it at that. Thanks so much for joining me here and sharing your thoughts on the show. The message is out there. The implementation, of course, is a challenge, but the idea is definitely there. Now, how this goes on with electoral and political reforms remains a big question mark. We'll see that in the days and months and years to come. The Prime Minister's idea of a new India. Time for me to wrap up this edition of the broadcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is me, Sana Khan, signing off.